I'm talking to the former Deputy President as well as Interim President of South Africa, former Secretary General of the ANC, Mr. Kgalema Motlanthe. Now, the question on the basis of the discussion that we had a short while ago is whether the ANC is captured. Let's talk about state capture. But now, one could argue and say, therefore, the processes that you explained earlier on imply that there might be a group of people or individuals or whatever, it may be a culture by itself, that has taken over the organization. What do you think?
Well, no, leaders get elected at elective conferences. If there's machinations and so on, or irregularities and so on, they still remain leaders. And they have access to the platforms, official platforms of the ANC. There is no other ANC other than the one that exists now. And so the way to come at it is not to say the once lived an ANC, which is different from the current one.
It's the same.
It's the same body.
Yeah, yes.
It's the same body. If in terms of how it, acquits itself in relation to ethics, in relation to ideas, and the mores and culture and values that found resonance in the past. If today there's a deviation from that, you can't say or proceed or respond as though there are two different ANCs. There's one ANC. This is the ANC. You have to live with this ANC. Those of us who are members, this is the ANC we elected. This is because leadership is not the entire organization. Leadership is the face of the organization. And that's why I was alluding earlier on to the fact that elected structures of leadership are meant to coordinate the activities of the general organization, which is the membership. But if they substitute themselves for the membership, of course, that's what would rob them of the inputs of the collective brain that resides within the membership, as it were. And of course, it means you'll have a narrower base of collective brain, rather than the broader brain that is available to the organization. So that's what happens. And realistically, there's only one ANC.
Now, Mr. Motlanthe, there was talk about a political school and that you were going to run that school. How are you doing, or how's the school doing?
Well, we continue to run the school. I work under the National Executive Committee subcommittee in charge of political education. I do so precisely because, once the organization is factionalized, for me to go out there and mobilize and organize would feed into the factionalism. So I said, no, I will do it officially through the subcommittee in charge of political education. And so the way we do it is, provinces know that they have to organize themselves. They have to pull together members and then inform the political education subcommittee that these are the dates, come and run political education. Some provinces have done so. We've been able to go and do that. The Free State did that, the Northern Cape did that, Gauteng did that, some regions in KZN did that. Other provinces, we were able to tackle in terms of training the trainers for induction of newly elected leadership structures. And that way we were able to cover all other provinces.
So it's by invitation, if I understand.
Readiness, an invitation, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the opposition parties in South Africa now, interestingly, are led by young people. I'm thinking of the DA, led by Mmusi Maimane, the Economic Freedom Fighters by Julius Malema, former member of the ANC. And you actually spoke against his expulsion from the organization, and now he's built a political party that seems to be growing. 2 points here. You can comment about the expulsion of Julius Malema and the fact that we have these young people, I mean, they're around 35 years of age now, mobilizing, and the ANC is led by people who are much older than the leaders of the opposition. Your comments?
Well, the best way of training, young people is to give them responsibility. There's actually no substitute for that. You give them responsibility and you guide them, you work with them, you support them, and ensure that your institutional memory, your experience, your wisdom is always readily available to them. Because young people bring, radical perspectives. They can always push the boundaries, and that's important because pushing boundaries may mean innovation, may mean new methods of doing things. So there's great advantage in giving responsibility to young people, because when you call on young people to act responsibly, and you do so, without giving them responsibility, it's an unfair call. You see, you must give them responsibility, then expect them to act responsibly, and guide them and support them, as I said.
Well, my question then is, your views about the fact that the opposition is led by young people compared to the ANC not having the same leadership. What do you think? What should happen?
I'm of the view that the ANC has come to this situation because of circumstances, in the sense that the generation of the 1940s Youth League were young people when they got into the executive of the ANC in 1949, where Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu, and later Nelson Mandela, all of them. And they were young people as they were playing this leadership role throughout the 50s into the 60s. As of course we know, then the ANC was banned. They were then taken to, incarcerated in prison. Others went into exile. By the time Oliver Tambo brought the ANC back out, following 30 years of illegality, he had suffered 3 strokes. And Nelson Mandela, that's why Nelson Mandela was able to say, look, I will only serve 1 term and be out of here, because his age was already advanced. Walter Sisulu the same, Gavin Mbeki the same. So in a sense, the second generation that was to take over from them was already also matured, of matured age. Now we're sitting with that problem. The ANC has got to break with that flow of leadership and generally find young, dynamic leaders to lead this organization.
Question I want to ask is, you have been in politics as an activist, you've been in prison, you've held positions, you've also been in government. What have you learned throughout all of this? Because, within the organization, you talk about being comrades and so on, but sometimes the way comrades snipe at each other, and there's one who was talking about people having been in the same trenches and now attacking one another. And I've been careful not to ask certain specific questions because of the position you've held, and that you must not be seen or be provoked to be trying to rule from the grave, as it were. But we understand this. What have you learned anyway throughout all of this up to where you are now?
Well, you learn to understand why people think the way they do at a particular time. And also that, to bring about, change in society, you actually need the ability to mobilize the broadest cross-section of the population. And so that demands that, you must be able to put your finger on that problem or that set of problems which would be able to rally the broadest cross-section. Societal problems are easy to resolve once people are mobilized and understand why things should be handled in a particular way.
Well,
this is what was passed on to us.
Sure.
By
now, a quick question. Do we have a leadership problem in South Africa, you think?
Well, South Africa is fortunately a nation of activists. South Africans, by and large, in the majority of them, would not accept to be, treated shabily. They do stand, their ground. That in itself is an advantage. There's leadership, capable leadership, located in various sectors of society. What is lacking is for those skills and ability and experience to find a way of being funneled into the mainstream. Because at the moment, politics seems to be, the be-all and end-all. But life is more than politics. Actually, we were taught that, we must not strive to become politicians, but to always have a political attitude wherever we are. Yeah, whether you are in sports or in the performing arts or in business, anyway, you must always have a political attitude. In other words, you must always be able to ask the question of whether you're doing technical things, you must always ask the question, what are the politics of what we are doing? Because that way, you can play a role, a meaningful role, a productive role in whatever capacity, in whatever sector of society. But if you're a politician, then of course it means, the end justifies the means.
Dr. Kgalema Motlanthe, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
And we have appreciated your time.
Thank you.
And we could go on. There were so many issues to be raised.
Next time.
Again, we appreciate it.
Next time. Thank you.
And that's the former Deputy President, Interim President of South Africa, also the Secretary General of the ANC for 10 years, a member up to now, and has a lot of experience when it comes to political life in South Africa. We sat down with him and he gave us this special interview. Well, we hope you found it as interesting as we found it to be, and the discussions will continue. And good night to you.